The Battle of Roanoke Island took place on the 7th and 8th of February, 1862. The combined U.S. Army and Navy expedition's goal was to gain control over the large area of the North Carolina coastline in 1862. While it was not the first operation to land soldiers from the sea, it was the first operation to create an amphibious force with all its own strategies, weapons, and other regulations. The Burnside expedition, named after the commanding officer, Brigadier General Ambrose Burnside, ran from mid-January to mid-July, with the initial land battle being the Battle of Roanoke Island. General Burnside arrived off Stumpy Point, North Carolina, on February 6th with 60 ships and 13,000 men. He learned of the Confederate numbers, locations, and strategies from escaped Confederate slaves. The eastern side of Roanoke Island was too shallow for the Union ships to take a stand, and the Confederacy kept this in mind when building their forts. Most of the Confederate strength was massed on the northern third of the island. From Fort Bartow to Fort Forest, the Confederates had sunken 8 ships to slow the Union approach to the rest of the island. Northward were Forts Blanchard and Fort Huger, which dominated the only road on the island with a 3-gun battery. All of these forts were manned with a total of about 3,000 Confederate soldiers. Burnside's only option became landing south of Fort Bartow on Captain William Ashby's farm. Ashby's landing was protected from Fort Bartow's guns by a small hill and was also out of range from Fort Blanchard and Fort Huger's guns as well. The plan was then made that the following morning, Burnside would make the landing. The Union began an intense bombardment of Fort Bartow around 11:30 a.m. on February 7th. The Confederate fort and fleet did not stand for long, and the Defiance was captured in a matter of hours, thus trapping the 3-gun artillery in the middle of the island. The Union troops marched out from Ashby's Landing on the morning of February 8th. While they fought a few Confederate altercations, none of them were considered full-blown battles. Soon they reached the Confederates' main defense, the 3-gun battery. The 3 guns were supported by 1,000 almost completely unarmed Confederate soldiers. The land that lay between the Confederates and the Union troops was a massive field of black tar marshes. The Confederate strategy was that the Union troops would find the marshes insurmountable and would be forced to funnel their troops towards the fort, making it a simple task to stop the Union force altogether. As the assault began, smoke from the rifles caused the Union troops to accidentally fire upon each other, but soon they were able to reform their lines and attack the 3-gun battery on both ends and from the front. Shocked at the success of the northern assault, the Confederate troops fled their stations and ran back to their camps. Confederate reinforcements coming in from the northern shore of the island were met by the victorious Union regiments and forced into a surrender after being marched back into the Confederate camps. Roanoke Island was successfully captured by General Burnside and his men. Coupled with the February 15th Union victory at Fort Donelson in Tennessee, the Union war effort received a massive boost in morale. And with the Roanoke Island victory, the Union began to tighten its stranglehold on the South.